The more and more this Diddy trial progresses, more and more people are realizing that Cassie was more of a assistant to Diddy than a victim. Now, it's not to say that, she didn't get beaten. Obviously, we saw the video of it. And it's not to say that Diddy isn't guilty. But it's to say that Cassie isn't the innocent victim as they like to make you think. And it reminds me of the Allison Mack situation, an actress who was a part of Smallville, who was a part of a cult, the Nxivm cult. And they found that she wasn't this innocent girl. And they sentenced her to 3 years in prison, which she only served 2. But the man, Keith Rainier, was sentenced to 120 years. And I highlight that just to give you yet another prime example that shows proof of women never being equal to men. And that's according to a court of law and the court of public opinion. Because every single time when we come to these legality situations, when it's time to answer for things, when consequences come, every single time, it's always the man that suffers more than the woman. Always. And if Diddy does get a hefty sentence, which, there's a possibility he could get off because, he had far more connections than Keith Rainier. But if he doesn't, this will be another situation where the man gets punished more while the female gets away scot-free. Because even though Cassie sure was an abuse victim to Diddy, meanwhile, she was a predator towards others beneath her. I mean, because, this whole argument that he stifled her career, we know that's BS because she didn't have any talent. And people knew at the time when she released singles that she was just a pretty face who couldn't sing. And unfortunately, at a very young age, Western females know that they can weaponize their sex. I mean, you hear a lot of disturbing stories where you have young teenage girls prostituting themselves through social media. And when you have a great deal of the mainstream media promoting sex work as a positive thing, and when you have more and more adults who are more friend than parents, encouraging a more liberal mentality, it's no surprise. I mean, again, recently a list was revealed of all of the male escorts that were involved with the freak-offs. And, some of the details that you hear is of Cassie enjoying it and not being high off drugs all the time while enjoying it. And so I believe that, Diddy in his circle was the ringleader and Cassie was a participant, an enthusiastic, active participant who did also get brutalized by Diddy. But again, we already know if you change the narrative, and if it's a gay situation like a man on man type abuse, then people won't be saying, "Oh, imagine if this is your son," like they always do with the females. Imagine this is your daughter. No, they would be saying, "Why is it an adult male not walking away from the situation or confronting the dude that's abusing him?" Which again is another acknowledgement that women aren't equal to men. If less culpability is going to be put on a certain group of people, then they aren't equal to the group of people where more is put on them. It's the same thing in the racial dynamic. You have lower standards for the so-called minority races, which quite frankly acknowledges they aren't equal to the race that's considered not the minority. It's the same dynamic when it comes to rich and poor, fat and skinny, LGBTQ, heterosexual. And so the reality is people don't actually believe in equality at all because it's not actually practiced. It's only voiced and then utilized as a weapon to guilt trip the opposition party basically into giving them things or tolerating their bad behavior. But anyway, ultimately we'll see how this all turns out. But her husband I would like to add, her husband's getting really cuckold throughout this entire thing, or his cuckoldery is being exposed more and more. But who knows? He's probably into that.